Good afternoon and welcome to the commencement ceremonies of Baylor University's School of Law. We are looking forward today to a day of memory and a day of celebration. And to open our ceremonies this morning, I will call upon a member of the class, Stephen David Carl, to deliver the invocation. Stephen.
Please pray with me. Father God, thank you for today. We're all so excited. We're overjoyed to be here and celebrate the accomplishment of these 23 graduates. And before we turn the focus on ourselves, God, we want to pause and acknowledge you. Thank you for being a God that has made this happen. We recognize you've been sovereignly orchestrating this all behind the scenes. It's not an accident that we have the 23 graduates here today, and it's not an accident that we're surrounded by our friends and our families and an amazing staff and professors at the law school that have supported us and helped us along the way. And God, thank you for my 22 classmates. What a privilege it has been to sweat and stress and worry and bleed alongside of them the past 2.5 years. God, I pray that we will be attorneys that honor you with our lives as we take this first step towards our future careers. God, I pray you will be the one who guides our steps. You'll make those steps clear to us, one at a time, as we go along our lives. God, I pray we'll be people who seek justice, but that we'll also be attorneys who love mercy and walk humbly with you. We love you, God, and pray this in your name. Amen.
Please be seated, class. Sweat and stress, Stephen, yes indeed. You have quite hit upon the accurate point to be made. Baylor Law School, where fun goes to die. This class has seen a lot the last 3 years, and they have arrived today at a day, as I noted, of memory and a day of celebration. Class, you have not done it on your own, though. We are lifting you up today as future Baylor lawyers, as professionals who will be serving. We lift you up today, but before we proceed any further, let's take cognizance of the fact that you were brought here through many, many years to this point by your family, your friends, your loved ones, your spouses, your kids, your parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and extended family. So let's take opportunity here at the beginning of our ceremony to have the class stand, turn around, and thank those who have made this possible. We indeed are so thankful for you, family and friends. You have seen these students through since they were born, and this is a day in which you can take very justified pride as they move from one chapter of life into the next chapter of life. We have in the commencement program an insert, and I would like you, when you get an opportunity, if you haven't already, to read the insert and note a theme that runs through it. All of the accolades that have been given to family and friends and loved ones and mentors. And those accolades and mentions within the program insert are significant because although they are short words, they do express the deep gratitude that our students, our soon-to-be graduates, have for all that you have invested in their life. We are a faith mission school. We teach our students. We try to imbue our students with the recognition that this is a serving profession, that the legal profession reaches out to those who are in need, who cannot help themselves, to build a bridge, an ethical bridge, to where a client or other person served needs to be. At orientation, I always note to the students that they need to know why they are here, not just here at Baylor Law, but much more importantly, why are they here on this earth? Why are they here in this life? And I note to them that we all have a horizontal and vertical dimension to our lives. The vertical is the glorification of God. The horizontal is the service in His kingdom. And it's the wish and desire and hope and prayer of the faculty that each of our graduates today will go out as Baylor lawyers, capital B, capital L, not a descriptor, a brand, and that you will indeed take hold of that horizontal direction of life in serving others so that we might glorify God through your service. This day is brought to us by, of course, the faculty and staff colleagues, so many family and friends, but I want to take special note, as we often do, nearly always do at Baylor Law School, to a special group of folks within the auditorium, within the sanctuary here. The legal profession has been given to us as lawyers. We are the stewards of the rule of law. We are the stewards of the justice system. Our ability to work within our profession would not be possible but for the protection that is afforded to each one of us by the armed forces, not only across our nation, but literally around the world. Note is seldom taken of that fact. And of course, we know that Monday is Veterans Day, but as I say, we note this at every graduation. There is a symbiosis between the legal profession and the armed forces. We could not be stewards of the rule of law but for that protection afforded to us by the armed services. And at this point, I want all present who are active, reserved, or retired from the armed forces to please rise and receive our appreciation. You noted that Stephen Carl stood. Stephen not only has served this nation at length, but Stephen also, during the time that he was with us here at Baylor Law School, received the Pat Tillman Award, one of the highest decorations that can be given to a member of the armed services. You're the real deal, Stephen. Thank you. Each of the veterans. I am on the stage here with my colleagues. Inside of the commencement program, there are detailed biographies of each of my colleagues. And of course, I'll be introducing Professor Wren in a moment. But I want to say just a few words about my colleagues. They have been selected by the class for the respective duties of hooding each of our graduates later in the ceremony. First of all, I'll start with Professor Jerry Powell. Have you heard that name before by chance, family and friends? Darth Vader, that guy who's so intimidating. Professor Powell is the director, has been the director. Those responsibilities have been passed now to Jim Wren, after Professor Powell has for 33 years been on our faculty. And over the course of those 33 years, he has put our Baylor Law students through their paces in the classroom and in the courtroom. As I note, I keep the introductions brief, but let me share just two facts. The university, over the past 30 years, has designated about 20 or 22 members, some retired now, of the faculty as master teachers, as those who truly represent the epitome of what can be done and accomplished for students in the classroom. Professor Powell is a master teacher of the university. He holds a very distinguished chair at the law school, the Abner V. McCall, the Judge Abner V. McCall Chair of Evidence. Professor Powell is known for his ability to not only critique, but to critique at length in the courtroom. Professor Beth Miller. Professor Beth Miller, I could start way back in her career. As with all my colleagues, I can say so much. I'll just start and give you a little hint. She graduated first in her class with highest honors. She then proceeded to take the Texas bar exam. She was number one on the Texas bar exam. And that's many, many, many hundreds of folks. She went into practice, but I'm going to jump forward now. She holds the Beard Chair of Business Law and Transactional Law at the law school. She is the go-to expert in all manners of business organization, LLCs, LLPs, partnerships, corporations, and so forth. She is around the country on a regular basis, speaking at all the high-level conferences in her area of expertise. And Beth, we are so proud of you and so proud of all your achievements, your many achievements. And then also on the stage with me is Associate Dean Leah Teague. All the students have been in Dean Teague's office at one time or another. She and I have worked together now for a long, long time. And Dean Teague, I always say, well, she kind of runs the law school, so I can do what I do. But she has a regular line, a queue outside her office of students who are seeking personal advice, academic advice, and the like. And she shepherds the students through the program, academically and otherwise. And I have often said, and it comes to my heart, I love Dean Teague. We have been partners for a long time, and you are one special person, Leah. And then Assistant Dean Angela Cruz-Turner. It's wonderful to graduate from law school, from Baylor Law in particular. It's great to pass the bar exam. By the way, we were, once again, this past week, #1 on the bar exam among the 10 law schools in Texas. Well, a little applause. For those who take the bar, they will gladly receive the applause. It's all great. Diploma, bar license. You still have to be employed, though, and employed meaningfully. And over the past several years, Baylor Law School has consistently been in the gold standard of employment. That's the positions that require a JD degree. We have been #1. Angela Cruz-Turner, along with the entire faculty and staff, they work tirelessly to make sure that our graduates get into positions which will both be satisfying and in which they can serve. Angela, thank you for all you do. Thank you. And then, what happens each day at the Law Center? We'll be at the Law Center following adjournment today. Your graduate will be able to show you where they have, what was it, Stephen, sweat and so forth, sweat blood. In the Law Center is not the law school, of course. It's only where we do our work. And your graduate will be able to show you the classrooms and the courtrooms. And you also will be able, at the reception, to meet our faculty and staff colleagues. Our faculty and staff colleagues are here to your left and in the back of the sanctuary. This is the finest faculty anywhere under the sun in this nation. Absolutely the finest, most hardworking, dedicated, and invested faculty and staff group that you will find anywhere. And I want each of them now, over here and in the back, all the faculty and staff colleagues, please rise for our appreciation. There's one that I want to pull out separately, the Godfather, David Gwynn. Godfather, stand up. Come on, stand up. It takes him a moment. We love him. Professor David Gwynn, the Godfather, is going to be retiring at the end of the school year. He is in his 53rd year on the faculty at Baylor Law School. And we think that somewhere between 6,500 and 7,000 Baylor Law students have passed through his class. David, a real inspiration. Thank you, my friend. And now I have the pleasure of introducing Ms. Jennifer Huckleberry, who is the highest ranking student in the class, for remarks on behalf of the class. Jennifer.
Baylor has been a very special place for me. It's where I discovered my passion for law and where I met some of my closest friends. But coming to Baylor wasn't without risk. It required me to leave my career in finance and move to Texas to pursue an opportunity that was promising but foreign. Oftentimes, the best opportunities in life require us to step out into the unfamiliar. The Baylor Law program is difficult, demanding, and at times grueling. Yet we will each graduate with more than just a diploma. We will each leave with pearls of wisdom and experience. A pearl is unlike any other gemstone because it's created by living creatures. A pearl is formed when a particle gets inside an oyster. Out of discomfort, the oyster produces layer upon layer of a substance called nacre. This nacre is the substance of the pearl. The Baylor program puts its students through uncomfortable situations for the duration of the 3-year program, whether it be through cold calling, moot court, practice court, and all else that is part and parcel of our law school experience. Yet layer by layer, a pearl was formed. We developed the friendships, the confidence, and the experience necessary to succeed in the legal profession. Let's rejoice and celebrate this accomplishment. Yet remember that this was an interactive process. Our family, our friends, and our faculty were critical to our development. Our family and friends may be here today, but more importantly, they were there for us when we needed prayers, perspective, and reminders that we are loved unconditionally. Our faculty facilitated the process, but also invested in us as individuals and professionals, modeling a lifestyle of excellence, kindness, and resilience. We have all gone through the same program, yet we will each be asked to solve a different problem. As Frederick Buechner stated so famously, the place that God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's greatest hunger meet. Friends and colleagues, these are my hopes and prayers for you as we each find that place. I hope that we would each strive for and achieve the impossible, that we would join in our friends' successes and count them as our own, that we would never lose sight of the awesome responsibility and privilege we have as attorneys. Yet remember, we are not called to be perfect because God is. That we would know the difference as young lawyers between learning our place and surrendering our values. Then when we feel lost and confused, we would remember that we can always find peace and answers when we look to the oldest law that has ever existed, God's Word, that when our prospects seem bleak, our situation is really just right for a miracle, and that when we feel isolated and alone, we would remember our friends, our family, and our Baylor Law community. I have found a friend in each and every one of you, and I am so proud to be your fellow alumnus and colleague. Congratulations on a terrific 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Well spoken. And yes, indeed, thank you for thanking those who brought you here. And yeah, do the impossible. That's a worthy goal, the impossible. And you'll achieve. All of you will. It's my delight now to present Professor Jim Wren, our speaker today, chosen by the class. Professor Wren graduated from the law school with honors. He then took a master's degree at the University of Kent in Canterbury. In 2006, Professor Wren joined the faculty. However, for many years, he had been an adjunct on the faculty, teaching complex litigation and business litigation. He was very popular with the students, and we were very blessed to have him join the faculty full-time in 2006. He works alongside as the director of the practice court program with Professor Powell, Professor Liz Fraley, and Professor Jeremy Consular. They are the team that put the students through the paces each day in the 6 months of practice court. Jim has received just a ton of accolades. He has been named as a super lawyer by the media every year since 2002. He is board certified in trial law and personal injury trial law. He has been the president or director of multiple state and national certification programs, which of course provide the assurance that certain lawyers who have passed muster indeed possess the expertise that is required in various disciplines within the law. He has been a prolific author. He has 3 books out, one of them co-authored by Professor Consular in the practice court program. He is the master of the bench of the Abner v. McCall of court here in Waco and McLennan County. Just recently, several weeks ago, Provost Nancy Brickhouse named Professor Wren as the new holder of the Leon Jaworski Chair of Practice and Procedure. And that's a big deal. It's a big deal. He works so closely with our students, and I'm going to pull out one honor he has received among so many in the past several years, because it's so significant to what he does each day in his office, in the courtroom, and in the classroom. The young lawyers of the McLennan County Bar Association each year designate the Mentor of the Year, a senior lawyer who has gone the extra mile in taking younger lawyers under their tutelage and giving them guidance and counsel about the profession. And the last year, Professor Wren was chosen as the Mentor of the Year. It may seem like a local award, but when Jim received that, I thought, yes, that's so right, because he goes every day, always going the extra mile to make sure that he has contact with students that he feels needs guidance. Sometimes it's a little bit of a prod in the rear, sometimes it's a carrot, but it's part of his persona as a teacher. And we are so proud that Professor Jim Wren is our colleague, that he's a member of our faculty, but we're also so proud and blessed that he is someone who works each day with our Baylor Law students. Professor Wren, please come forward to share with the class.
Dean Tobin, Dean Teague, I am very honored to be here, and I am particularly honored to be here with this class. So to this class, this is the moment that I look forward to with each class, and very much with you. I want to tell you how proud I am of you. As I said in the beginning, I am pulling for you. I will not give you a blessed thing. And I think you understand that. I am proud to see you here today. I want to very briefly address, Dean Tobin has spoken of Baylor lawyer. What does it mean to be a Baylor lawyer? And I think, graduates, you're coming certainly into that realization. I don't know that others here fully understand what it means to be a Baylor lawyer, so I briefly want to address that. Certainly I believe that it involves leadership. I would note, incidentally, that Baylor University is blessed to be led by a triumvirate of women leaders, including President Livingstone, Provost Brickhouse that you've heard here today, and Baylor lawyer Jerry Clements, chair of the Board of Regents. Certainly leadership and leadership roles are built into the fabric of what it means to be a Baylor lawyer. But I think that begs the question as to what it is to lead for, what it is to lead toward. And I think that it is important to understand what it is that these graduates have been directed toward. Certainly there is the recognition, the realization that it is about the preeminent place in our democracy of the rule of law. We look to a past leader, Leon Jaworski, who talked about, as the Watergate prosecutor, no one is above the law. But I see it played out in so many other ways. It's not just that no one is above the law, it is that everyone deserves and is entitled to the protection of the law. And I see our Baylor lawyers bearing that out every day. One of my heroes graduated here less than 5 years ago. Jessie Freud, who is a local attorney, who describes herself, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not sure I could do justice to use the actual language that she uses, but she describes herself as a tough Jewish woman lawyer who will not back away. And that is absolutely right. She is someone that has invested in her short career the determination to make sure that everyone, no matter what they are charged with or of, is entitled to the full protection of the law. She has thrown herself into the Innocence Project. Those of you that are familiar with that, that is seeking to reverse oftentimes long-standing convictions that are believed to have been wrongfully rendered, not wrongful in the sense that they necessarily involved any wrongdoing, but nevertheless a wrong result, oftentimes proved by DNA evidence that was not there in the past. She is in there fighting every day. Her work on one case is the fodder for the latest John Grisham novel, The Guardian, talking about these that would fight for those who deserve entitlement to the law, the protection of the law. What is the point here? The point here is that you do not have to be out there for years and years to earn your spurs. It is about fighting for, standing for the rule of law. But I think it goes further than that. It is about what I would describe as a growth mindset. And that's not original to me. All of you graduates have certainly heard that. We've talked about that. It is something that a renowned sociologist by the name of Carol Dweck has published extensively relating to, in her book, among others, mindset. But it talks about the difference between a fixed mindset, that is, someone who believes our intelligence is fixed and there is really nothing we can do to alter that, therefore we must remain perfect in order to preserve the illusion of being outstanding, versus those with a growth mindset. A growth mindset that says, I will take on the challenge that is right, because that is how I improve. That is how I make a difference. And let me tell you, friends, family here, for these graduates have done exactly that. They came here to Baylor Law School knowing, because we make no bones about it, this is where fun goes to die. We will work your tails off. You will work harder at this law school than you will at any other, and you'll still get the same JD degree, but it's not the same. It's not the same because you know that you have earned your spurs. You know what you are capable of. And these graduates have stepped into that and said, we recognize that this will not necessarily always be pretty. It will not always be something where I can maintain the illusion of perfection. In fact, I can guarantee you will not maintain the illusion of perfection. But what you will do is grow. And these are the people, knowing that have self-selected, because there are a number of people looking at law schools who say, okay, I could go the hard route or I could go the not so hard route. I think I'll take the not so hard route. And these are the folks that have said, I'll take the hard route because I believe in it. So what does it take to have that Baylor lawyer growth mindset? Well, certainly it takes commitment. And graduates, you've proved it throughout these 2.5, 3 years, first year, second year, third year practice court. As you have grounded out, you have shown you have the commitment. But it's not just commitment. It is commitment to something that truly matters. That's where character comes into this. Character of standing for something that is truly a calling. Something that in the end matters. That is baked in to our Baylor Law DNA. Let me take you back a little over approximately 100 years ago, and I need to give a little bit of context for this. In 1915, there was a silent film release that took the nation by storm. It was a silent film, a classic in one sense, called Birth of a Nation. And you might think, well, that sounds like something involving 1776, but it did not. It involved the aftermath of the Civil War, and it presented Southern resistance as something to be glorified. And the movie projected the protectors of women, of Christianity, of the American way of life as the great crusaders. And who did they present as that? Those that were in white robes, hooded, and burning fiery crosses. That swept the nation by storm in 1915. In 1916, 5 blocks from here, there was a lynching of a young black man by the name of Jesse Washington that received national attention because a photographer by the name of Fred Gildersleeve made these extensive photographs. There was a crowd there estimated at approximately 10,000 for that lynching. They were selling food like a sporting event. Ultimately, they were distributing body parts. That was the insanity that was starting in that time period. And in the next 4-5 years, that glorification of that sort of mindset swept the nation and in particular the South. So that by 1920, it was clear that a candidate was not likely to be elected unless they had pledged allegiance to the Ku Klux Klan. By 1920, the former county judge had just become district judge here. He had been served for 4 years as county judge. He stepped up to district judge, and he did not believe that that sort of mindset, that this personification of the Ku Klux Klan as the protectors of, and these are using the words of the KKK, those that would stand for the American way and in opposition to blacks, Jews, Catholics, and immigrants. And that district judge, having been elected in 1920, said that is wrong. And yet it became clear that he was going against the mainstream. It was at that time, during that time period, that Baylor Law, having suspended operations in years past for some significant period of time, said we need to step forward. We need to be talking about the rule of law that seeks to protect all. And that district judge was part of that faculty. He was the one that started the practice court program that said it is important to train young lawyers that you have a calling. You have a calling on behalf of people. He was not alone. There was a leadership triumvirate at that point in time as well. Samuel P. Brooks was the president of Baylor University. He signed a letter in opposition to this mass electorate movement toward the KKK. He was doing that with the recognition that the movement toward the KKK at that point in time was incredibly popular. And that at that point in time, Baylor University, being essentially Texas, the students, the donors, and particularly the donors for Baylor at that point in time largely came from Texas and across the South. And he recognized that by taking that sort of stand, it would cost the university, and yet it was important to take that stand. He was joined by a pastor, even though much of the support at that point in time of the KKK came out of Protestant evangelicalism. Nevertheless, a pastor by the name of J.M. Dawson who stood in this pulpit, First Baptist Church, knowing that he was going to lose membership and tithers, and he did, by taking a public stand against that, nevertheless considered it important to do that. By the way, that is the father of Matt Mad Dog Dawson. You may have heard of him. The apple does not fall far from the tree. And then there was the professor, in which I am referring, the district judge, Judge James P. Alexander, the first professor of the Baylor Practice Court program. And he considered it to be vitally important to deliver the message. Now, he at this point in time was in his 30s. I consider that very young. He was a rising star. As I said, he had already been the county judge, had stepped up to district judge, and there was no question. He had aspirations to do great things. He also knew that by taking this public position and by teaching young law students the importance of standing for what matters and standing against that which threatens what matters, that it was going to be costly. It was made very clear to him that if he did not join the KKK, he would not be reelected to his second term as district judge in 1924. And it gets worse, because by 1922, he was only one of 2 elected officials having anything to do with the judiciary or law enforcement that had not taken that pledge in McLennan County. In 1922, Sheriff Bob Buchanan, the other one, in seeking to enforce the law, was attacked by a group of KKK marchers, was badly wounded. A KKK marcher died in the fight that ensued, and Sheriff Buchanan was charged with murder, indicted for murder. He was not convicted, but he was indicted for protecting the rule of law. By 1923, there was one elected official relating to the judiciary or law enforcement left in McLennan County, and that was the judge. And he knew, it was very clear to him, that based on how the electorate had moved, he would not be reelected in 1924 unless he took that pledge. He did not. That is about understanding the importance of character. But character only goes so far if there is no courage. And courage comes in many forms. For Judge Alexander, it came in the form of going in early 1924 to a KKK meeting, where the assumption by the membership there was that he had come to pledge his allegiance to the KKK so that he could be reelected like all the others. He went there, looked them in the eye, and said, "I wanted to come tell you personally why I will not be signing this pledge and why I will not be running for reelection. Because I recognize that I can only be reelected with your support at this point in time, and I will not do it." That is courage of looking people in the eye and standing by your convictions. But courage comes in many forms. There is, for example, a young man, a Baylor graduate, sitting where you are sitting 18 months ago, where the day before, literally the day before graduation, he received a death sentence. He had just finished a very successful run on the Baylor mock trial team, and then received the diagnosis of a stage 4 cancer that for a 28-year-old was virtually unheard of, and was told he would not have long to live. Ty Drury faced that next 15 months with incredible courage. He borrowed language from Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego out of the Bible that said, "My God can deliver me, but if he does not, I will still stand. I will still honor. He faced that incredible sentence with courage, an incredible courage that inspired those around him. He fought to take the bar. He fought to try and continue practice as he was pursuing every effort to beat the death sentence. Ultimately, he did not. But he is a Baylor lawyer in the truest sense of the word, because there is courage there. Standing, he was determined to do whatever, anything he could to carry out his calling. Incredible. What else goes into it? And I think this is so vitally important. We are in the people business. Graduates, when you started practice court, I talked to you then about the words of Ezekiel, where he was saying on behalf of God, I have looked for one among you who would stand in the breach, who would stand for those who need the system to be for everyone. And then there were the indicting words, I have looked and I have found none. Holy cow, what an indictment. This is about people. This is about the people business. And just like there is no monopoly on a side of the law, plaintiff, defense, prosecution, defense, there is no monopoly on truth. There's usually plenty of truth to go around. There is also no monopoly on the people that need you. It is not just on one side. Prosecutors do incredible work standing for people in broken places. Defense attorneys do incredible work standing for people in broken places. Plaintiffs' lawyers, defense lawyers, those who are not going into litigation that are guiding people in so many different ways. There is a myriad of opportunities to engage in the calling, to lead, to guide, to rescue, and it's about people. Let me make a true confession to you. When I was a young lawyer, I believed at that point in time that my calling was to win. And yes, I win within the bounds of the law and within bounds of ethics, but it was about winning. And believe me, I think those of you who have worked with me understand there is nothing wrong with winning. I believe in winning. But I also have come to realize that winning is not everything. Winning is not what it's about. When I was about a fifth-year lawyer, I had some success at that point in time, and I was involved in a defense case on behalf of a physician that was right at the end of his career. And it was a death case where his patient had succumbed. And there were difficult things about that case. No side has a monopoly on the facts, and we had some difficult facts to work with. And we ultimately, I say ultimately, not in the very end, but along the way, offered this doctor's policy limits to settle the case. And it was turned down, and I understand why it was turned down. On the other side was an attorney, outstanding attorney. In fact, his picture graces the halls of Baylor Law School. He turned it down because he believed that he needed to get the judgment against my client, my doctor, in order to also get a judgment against the hospital and some other doctors that had even greater policy limits. So we offered our policy limits, and he turned it down. And I remember going into that trial, and my gut was turning. Honestly, at that point in time in my career, not because of my client, but because I was a young lawyer and I wanted to win, and I was afraid I might not win. And so my gut twisted. We spent 3.5 weeks in trial, battling it out. And as we neared the time of the verdict, I became increasingly convinced we were going to win. The trial had gone well. And the jury goes out, they come back in, the verdict is delivered, and we have won. And I feel that incredible surge of adrenaline. Yes, we've won. And I turned to my doctor client sitting there beside me, and I was ready to just hold hands and start the celebration. And he is crying. He's not just crying a little bit. He is crying a lot. And I'm thinking he didn't understand the verdict. He didn't understand we've won. And I said, "Doctor, we won." And between the sobs, he was basically indicating, yes, he knew. And I did not have a clue why this was affecting him that way. It was only as I started talking to him, and get this, after the verdict, after everything we've been through, I finally start to realize what he has been through, what my client has been through, that he has spent the last 14 months recognizing that everything he has worked for, even insured for, could be gone, that there could be a verdict in excess of his policy limits. He is now retired, he has an invalid wife, and he is wondering throughout this time period, carrying this burden, am I going to be able to support my wife? Or is it all going to be for naught right here? And here's the true confession. I did not understand at that point in time in my young career that this is about people. This is about the burden that they are carrying. Yes, we want to win. Yes, we want to have that feeling of victory, but it is not about that. It is about people. I'm reminded of another hero that was not that long ago, who was where Jennifer Huckleberry was. That is, the #1 graduate in her class. She's essentially a paraplegic. Really essentially a quadriplegic with virtually no use of any of her limbs, and has been since she was approximately 2 years old, was not expected to live past age 3. She managed to fight her way, and I mean that literally, fight her way through Baylor Law School, ended up #1 in her class with everything being an ordeal. Her name is Allison Dixon. You can Google her, Allison Dixon, Temple, Texas. And she has devoted her life since Baylor Law School to fighting for people in the only way effectively that she can, seeking to show compassion, to raise money, to support good causes, using who she is. I'm just telling you, graduates, there are so many ways in which you can show compassion, that you can understand your calling on behalf of people. And I would add this one last thing. As you do this, you are not alone. You are part of the Baylor Lawyer Network now. I go back to Ty Drury. As he fought the good fight, but it became increasingly apparent that he would not survive. As I went to see him in what were, I suspected, and it was true, were in his last hours, the last 24 hours of his life. As I got there, what did I see? His family was there. His fiancée was there. And his fellow Baylor classmates were there. That's who filled the room. That's who was, because you have been in the foxhole together, and even other Baylor lawyers who you did not go through with, you've been in the same foxhole. They understand what you have been through. They understand what you stand for, what you have committed to. And this is your network. So I just want you to know you are our emerging heroes. We are inspired by you. We are proud of you. God bless you. Godspeed.
Thank you, Professor Wren, for outlining what it means to be a Baylor lawyer. It's a special type of lawyer, the serving lawyer, the lawyer who is in front of issues, the lawyer who speaks out, the lawyer who represents the good. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. The time has come for the conferral of the degree, and I will ask Dean Teague to join me for the presentation of the class. Please stand, class.
It's my honor to represent my fabulous colleagues. As Dean Tobin indicated, we truly have the best faculty and staff in the nation, and we know that because when we go out to other law schools, we are so proud of how we stack up against everyone else. And I want you to know that what we do, we believe to be a privilege. And it is because of you, graduates, because of you. We have such a privilege each and every day to spend our time with you because we believe in you. We know that you take to heart that which Professor Wynn talks about. You understand your obligation as lawyers to serve society and to serve your clients, and you will do it with honor and integrity. And we know that you have the skill set, the knowledge, the character, the fortitude to go out there and to make a difference each and every day within the profession and within your communities. So again, we are so proud of you, and we want to recognize you on this day. We want to thank you for all that you are, for all the heart and the soul that you've put into your legal education. And we want to thank you for the incredible good work that we know each and every one of you will have on the world around you as you have influence and impact as you go out and serve with honor and integrity. So it is my honor and my pleasure, Dean Tobin, to present this class to you. Each of these graduates standing before you has met each and every requirement for the degree of Juris Doctor. And so on behalf of my colleagues, we want to certify that this class, yes, this class has earned the degree of Juris Doctor.
Each of you have completed the requirements for the degree of Juris Doctor as prescribed by the faculty of Baylor University School of Law. Accordingly, upon the recommendation of the law faculty and on behalf of the Baylor University Board of Regents and President Linda Livingstone, it is my delight and pleasure to confer upon each of you the degree of Juris Doctor. We will now go forward to the award of the diplomas and the hooding of each of our degree candidates. The beauty of the sanctuary is obvious. This is a sacred place. However, family, friends, and loved ones, we have a long-standing tradition at Baylor Law School, and we're expecting you to muster up to carry forth the tradition. When the name of your graduate is called, you are invited, requested, to make as much noise as you possibly can on their behalf. Don't be reticent because of the surroundings, because do know that we measure the depth of the love that you have for your graduate by the decibels that you can produce. It's up to you.
Alicia Alvarado. Madeline Ann Beach. Adam Lee Bothan. The next graduate has earned a special distinction in estate planning, Tyler Andrew Bushman. Stephen David Carl, cum laude. Cody Salgado Chapel. Nicholas Paul Fitzpatrick. Brianna Dene Gongora. Jennifer Nicole Huckleberry, magna cum laude, highest ranking student in the graduating class. Hunter William Maxwell Hudson. Robin Ann Leatherwood. Jacob Noel Mesmer. Matthew Rainbolt Morian. Claire Alexis Mosley. Lorianne Brittany Garrett Newman. Bradley Jordan O'Neill. The next student has earned the distinction of Leadership Fellow, Emily Ashton Patton. Erica Pena Sotalab. Alan Hill Streetman. Maria Elena Toscano. Kimberly Allison Trimble. Joyce Zhu Tribus. Travis Carroll Westbrook.
Y'all did really well with the decibels. You love them. Let's now stand and show them how proud we are. Thank you all for being a part of this memory and this celebration. We will shortly adjourn to the Sheila and Walter Humphrey Law Center, where your graduate will be able to show you the many places in which they toiled and strove over the past 3 years. The reception is sponsored by the Baylor Law Alumni Association. I want to thank some of our colleagues today who have made the logistics and the planning of this ceremony and this memory possible. Jerry Cunningham, who is our registrar, Susie Daniel, Meredith Meyer, and Angela Cruz Turner. And also we have undergraduate and graduate student workers, Danielle, and Joe and Catherine. And I want to thank each of them. Don't want them to not know our appreciation for the loveliness of our gathering here today. If you will now please remain seated for the recessional. The class will re-enter through this side door, and we will have a class photo made. Class, remember, you are Baylor lawyers, and I want to harken back to Professor Wren's commentary on Allison Dixon. You need to learn more about Allison Dixon and about Ty Drury. And just as a postscript, Ty did not get to take the bar. And just this past week, half dozen of us, we co-signed a letter to the Texas Supreme Court and to the State Bar of Law Examiners asking that Ty be posthumously admitted into the Texas Bar. And we are hopeful and prayerful that he will be, because he was and is a real Baylor lawyer. Thank you all. God bless.